What's up guys, and welcome to another Bone Engine vlog. As you notice, I'm actually in my flat today, and I decided to do a couple entries today, just because I had some ideas, and I don't have the luxury of kind of recording them in the daytime nowadays. It's winter and it's really dark, but in this entry, I wanted to talk about I wanted to talk about the kind of the fight aspect of life, right? Because I did an entry that was entitled "Life is about the fight," but that kind of had a different kind of I guess like meaning, really, like it had a different kind of overall message than what I'm about to talk about, because my kind of central teaching, you could say, is tapping into your sensitivity, and that's all about kind of tapping into your feeling, right? So tapping into your feeling by going in the direction of your joy, and also in the direction of your pain, and coming into acceptance of that. And what that allows you to do is to slowly begin to trust in the experience that is unraveling before you, right? Life is happening to all of us, and so in order for us to really even feel any sort of peace, it is to basically be present for the journey of life, right? And I did a couple of entries recently where I talked about that kind of trust that one must kind of foster and cultivate within, that allows us to basically be present with life as it unravels, whether that be good or bad, because we realize through lots of kind of internal questing, internal exploration, asking all of these big questions, and just every day asking, why is my life miserable, or why are people like this, why is existence like this, what is the meaning of anything, all of that questing, all of that that journey that we undergo, that journey of awakening, or indeed the journey of the spiritual journey, the journey of self-actualization. As we go through this, we kind of accumulate many ideas that come from both teachers and things external to ourselves, but also as our intuition, as our ability to trust in that internal guidance system within us increases. And I'm hoping you can actually see my face. If you can't, then it would be a massive shame, but yeah, we'll see. So and we accumulate all of these different ideas, but we start to realize that having all of these ideas and doesn't necessarily mean that you're actually enjoying your experience here. If anything, many of us discover that we actually become quite disdainful of life. We see things in life and we just write them off as well, that's fucking bullshit. That is just stuff that unawakened humans do. That is just stuff that people who have no degree of that kind of divine spark do. People quarrel, or they argue over petty things and all this stuff, right? And so we observe this, but at the same time we can't help but be affected by it, right? If we're really honest, then we eventually realize that no matter what extent of kind of this like this kind of like this kind of critique that we develop over life, which is amazing. You know, this kind of added dimension of our perception is amazing. You know, you could say the horizontal axis of perception, but at the same time, it doesn't excuse us from, like, you know, being angry at people, or like being humiliated, or feeling shame, or like stupid things happening to us. You know, other people seeing, like, well, us kind of observing other people's folly, and then conversely, you know, having other people see our folly that we try so hard to kind of hide from the world, because to our mind, you know, we're trying to reach this kind of pedestal of perfection, in terms of, you know, how would someone who is perfect act or feel or think, right? But, you know, eventually we start to realize that, you know, no matter how highly we try to kind of ascend in that way, we're still going to have, like, we're still going to, like, you know, the side that we so abhor in ourselves and other people, that's always going to be there, you know, because we're humans and we're part of this kind of unraveling, kind of chaotic 3D experience. And so you really have to kind of be present, you know, and that involves kind of a bit of surrender as well. Like, when you've hit into that brick wall, like, enough times, you just go, okay, fuck it, you know, like, I'm no longer going to try and, like, think my way out of this or anything like that. I'm, like, trying to, like, manipulate my thoughts. I'm just gonna accept it, you know, like, I give up, right? And that is that wonderful kind of surrender, you know. It's not always pleasant, you know, because life is inherently ups and downs. You know, life is inherently joy, you know, amazing joy, like when you feel that everything in your life is going well, going perfectly. And then, like, you know, days when you just feel shit, you know, like people piss you off. You feel like you're worth less than a piece of shit, you know, and it's like, you feel terrible, you know, on some days. But it's all part of this kind of experience, you know, this divine journey, the journey of God, you know, God manifesting it as these physical vessels going through this physical journey, you know, this one that we all kind of derive from experiencing the perspectives of many, right? And so, you know, that's kind of one, going back to what I was saying, that's one dimension of my teaching, tapping on sensitivity. I think it's really important because it teaches us to interpret our feeling, which is like, if you, like, in this day and age, you know, people can convince you, society can convince you that feeling is this like juvenile, you know, like dangerous thing, juvenile, immature, dangerous thing. But, like, if you don't trust in your feeling, you know, from the perspective of someone who is sensitive to energy, or at least understands the significance of it, you know, appreciates it, like, it is dumb. Like, it is like, yeah, it's like, you wouldn't give up eating, would you? Just because, like, you know, well, that was just a random example I threw up. But, like, you know, if for example, or like, you wouldn't give up sex just because there's no point to it, right? You know, like, there is really no point to a lot of sex apart from feeling good, you know, like, and then, like, when you start to argue, you know, whether or not it's needed to feel good, you know, it's really the same thing, you know. But, like, honestly, it's like, it's one kind of example that I just gave, about how desperately many of us need to kind of tap back into the feeling part of us, you know, and like start to own that side of us, because, like, you can persuade yourself and other people as much as you want that you don't need to, like, you don't need some of, like, the stupid desires that other people have, you know. Fuck desire, you know, like, who wants to have fun, you know, like, fuck that, you know, I've got too many things to deal with. You can convince yourself that you're past all of that shit and that you can control it, but you, like, at the end of the day, like you're the one who's going to be sorry, because like it's going to manifest anyway, you know, and you know, like it's going to come back, motherfucker. Like, you know, you're going to feel miserable, like, and you're going to regret it one day, you know, like, why didn't I just, like, why was I so fucking like hard, you know, why was I so fucking miserable all the time? Why couldn't I just let go sometimes and just have fun and like tap into my joy, right? So, you know, that's why I teach that, because, you know, it's a passion area of mine. You know, I really love kind of emotional questing for me, you know, understanding my own kind of feeling, but also I feel that it's something that many people need to kind of start to learn about, you know, and understand, right? Because it's not really taught to like any kind of significant degree. You know, there are some amazing people kind of teaching it, like Teal Swan. I always mention her, but there are other people. Matt Kahn is another example that I recently like kind of discovered. But like there's so many different people who are doing this thing where like they're bringing awareness to this kind of thing. Eckhart Tolle, like I'm just name dropping, man. Like there's so many teachers out there. Even Osho, you know, like Ram Dass, like there are so many kind of like amazing spiritual teachers, like kind of like trying to teach this kind of thing. But anyway, so that's kind of one aspect of it. But like another kind of, the other part of what I teach is pursuing a life of freedom, right? You know, like it's kind of more practical, where I talk about, it's more kind of in line with personal development. So this is how I would differentiate between the disciplines of personal development and spirituality, right? Spirituality is, you know, the whole kind of like sensitivity and like understanding, questioning and understanding and being energetically, essentially that, you know, that's how I would wrap it up. It's like energetic sensitivity, emotional intelligence, you know, that all kind of really falls into spirituality. And even to an extent, you know, like the whole kind of like, you know, questioning meaning and like what does it all mean, perspective, identity, you know, that kind of thing. But then there's the more practical side of it, which is, well, how do I actually apply that to my life, right? And that is kind of the other side that I talk about and, you know, try my best, try to teach myself, whilst I kind of undergo this very journey myself. And, you know, and you could view these two disciplines, like personal development and spirituality, as kind of like the masculine and feminine of this overall journey of self-actualization, right? And, you know, the tapping into your sensitivity part, the kind of like, you could say the more feminine side of it is, you know, as I explained, is important to kind of connect with life, you know, as it unravels, you know, in the present moment, right? And that's why it's, you know, that's why it's important. And understanding like the kind of nuances behind, you know, behind that, and like how you can fall out of that, how you can become like not present, you know, all of that good stuff, right? And I use the label feminine because, in a way, it is kind of what the kind of feminine pole of our species, you know, like the kind of female, the kind of female aspect of our species is kind of like connecting with life, essentially, like love and connection and understanding and acceptance and openness, you know, like this kind of this thing that's very much tied to the present moment, and like just surrendering yourself to life, and like surrendering yourself to your feeling and everything that moves through you, right? That is a very feminine thing, right? And conversely, you have the kind of more masculine side of things, which is like, how do I forge practically a life that I desire, right? And this really kind of is something that I want to talk about, you know, that in this entry. It's like kind of just like what happens when essentially you kind of get met with pain and suffering, basically. That's essentially what it is, right? like in terms of like your physical life, you know, like when things go wrong, or like when you're stuck in a dead end job, you know, or like a dead end relationship or something like that, or like something in your life is stopping you from moving forwards and actually allowing you to then express yourself, you know, fully and be the most authentic that you can be, right? Because that's ultimately how I would define wealth, right? I would define like true wealth as the ability to be yourself regardless of the situation, right? It is to express yourself like to the utmost core, right? That is what I would define as true wealth, right? Then there's also then like relationships and that kind of thing. But like I think in terms of personal wealth, I think it is the ability to really be yourself, no matter what the circumstance. You know, just like to be so comfortable with your own identity and everything that moves through you, like and to be able to express yourself, you know, without having to like be fake or like whatever it is, right? But sometimes life will kick you in the teeth, right? And you know, we can do the whole kind of female thing of like, you know, like understanding the pain and just being present with the pain and asking questions and like developing awareness and then consulting your feelings and allowing yourself, like you know, these ideas I presented in the last few entries. You can do all of that stuff, but at some point, like, you know, life kicks you so hard in the teeth that like you just kind of like you're kind of left at a crossroads, basically, right? And sometimes when you're pushed to like a certain extent, that like something quite amazing happens, right? And I've touched upon this in previous entries, like there were like the videos where I talked about firm sensitivity and kind of being a sensitive male, but like not being a weakling. You know, these ideas where I talk about kind of stepping up to the challenge, right? And if I'm really honest, like I kind of probably like I'm slightly better at the, well, you could argue like quite a bit better at like the kind of like feminine, like allowing yourself and just like going with the flow, you know, that kind of thing. Like I'm probably better at that, but like there is another side of me, because I am a male, you know, I am male, that basically like recently in particular, like I've started to kind of feel this again, right? When you're kind of like pushed, like when like the pain kind of takes a hold of you and like you kind of like start to feel that desperation, you know, like when you're just like, fuck, like, you know, I'm working like in this fucking job and like in my dream, you know, like I had all of these ideas, you know, I used to be a certain way, but now like my mind is filled with so much bullshit and like I'm getting older, you know, time is flying, you know, like my goals are kind of slipping like between my fingers and like there's not really anything I can do about it, and like you kind of get more and more wedged into a corner. And a lot of the time, you know, in my case in particular, like recently, like I've just been kind of like escaping and like trying to basically like live in such a way to like minimize my own stress, you know, and just kind of like laying low, you know, keeping a low profile, you know, not like burning out, like, you know, that was kind of one of my focuses, was like trying not to burn out. But recently, like I've started to like like, you know, like when you get hit to a certain point with pain, you just you sometimes just miraculously have this feeling where it's like, you know what, like fucking, like, you know, fuck it, you know, like I have this vision, right? You know what, fuck all the petty bullshit, you know, like fuck, like, you know, like there's people in my, like, you know, there's people that I interact with on a daily basis who like fucking don't understand me and I have to like sink to their level. But you know what, like fuck them. And like, you know, for a long time, well, for like a lot of the time, like, you know, like what I talked about, like not being okay with not being okay, you know, like it's like kind of delving into your feeling and admitting your anger and expressing your anger, like whether that, you know, and that can be towards like people or like, you know, things like that. But then there comes a point, you know, after where you know, like, fuck them, but like it's more of a fuck them because I remember my vision, right? Fuck them, and like I don't even like, you know, like I could like just feed all of my energy into hating them or like whatever it is, but you know what? I have a vision, you know, like I have a bigger purpose that I've been neglecting for some time, but it's coming back to me, and I remember like like everything that I wanted to do, because like sometimes, you know, like you just forget, you know, like when you're when you're free to like dream of all these you know, when you're kind of in the thick of like building your vision, like everything is in your head and you can see like everything, right? And you're like, oh man, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to do this, but then, you know, when you're like kind of when you're like trying to like, when you're implementing that and like you kind of hit a roadblock, or you have to compromise, because initially you kind of have to compromise unless you're lucky enough to have the resources and opportunity to like do it without having to compromise at some point. But like in my case, I had to compromise. I had to go out and get like a, you know, and enter the employment world again. But you start to forget that shit, because like you're working every day, like, you know, your work is on your mind, you're interacting with like with other people, and so like you have less time for yourself and your vision, and so you start to forget. But then there's this beautiful time when like you start to like remember like your vision. You're like, I remember like I wanted to do so much stuff, and like I've been in the haze where like I just wanted to like I didn't even want to think about it. I just wanted to like get through day by day and like just not go crazy and burn myself out, right? But then eventually you're like, you know what? Like I have this vision, and like the more that like life like kicks me in the face, you know what? Like now that I remember this vision, the more I'm going to like you know, I remember that I can actually put my energy towards this thing, and then the vision starts to re-energize you again, right? Because like it's really easy to fall into the trap, the pitfall of like thinking that like, you know, oh man, now I've got a job, but now I've also got to do like stuff towards like my vision and like my business idea, you know, or like my lifestyle change, my habit change that I'm trying to do. I've got to put like effort into that as well. Like, man, I'm so tired, you know, like I can't be arsed. Like most days I just want to come home, collapse in front of the couch and just watch mindless stuff on the internet, play games and just forget everything, you know, just go to sleep, whatever, man. You know, just try my best to like, it's not even relax. It's like half the time in my case, like I just come home and it's like, I'm just so stressed and so like, my mind is so frazzled that I just sit there and I watch stuff, and it's like all the while I'm trying to relax, but like, you know, my head is like churning, and like my body feels as though like, it's like, oh man, like, I feel like shit, right? But when you start to remember your vision, right, even if it's just a tiny portion of it, like in my case, it's like, you know, like I want to, I've got so many ideas, like I want to start writing, you know, like, you know, I'm kind of currently doing that, you know, I'm still doing music, I'm still doing this kind of thing, vlog entries, and there's so many things like, you know, that kind of branch out from that, and so, like, so I have a shit day at work, but I come home and it's like, well, now I've got this vision, you know, and like, maybe instead of, well, and it's like the switch from like thinking that, oh man, now I've got to do more work, you know, now I've got to do a vlog entry, now I've got to do this, but it's like, maybe the vision can inspire me once again, like it did like a year ago, a few months ago, like, you know, whatever it is. And you know, this was like an amazing kind of like thing for me, because now I'm like, okay, now like I realize that like I can start to like be energized by like the vision, right? And this is the masculine kind of essence, right? This is essentially, this is one aspect of like, you could call it divine masculine, you know, that's what like kind of spiritual people call it, but like the kind of like true masculinity, right? It is this kind of coming out from like pain and dysfunction and mediocrity and banality and bullshit in your, you know, from around you in your environment, coming up and like seeing the vision that's like far above you, and like kind of like making that motion of clasping it in your arm, in your hands, and being like, you know, like, I will get to you one day, you know. The pain around me, or the confusion, like it just fuels me, and like I can use that negative fuel, like that pain, to propel me like further towards my dream, like, which is empowering to me, right? And you know, and this is like a very kind of like profound like change in perspective, right? And this also kind of goes into I made a few entries, like I think they were entitled like be a creator, not just a consumer, and like becoming an executor, right, and that kind of thing. Essentially, like when you are hit with a problem or with like a negative feeling state, or whatever it is, like you're hit with some kind of problem, like you have essentially two ways that you can look at it, right? You can either look at it in terms of, oh man, this is fucking bullshit, like why me, right? And this also includes like trying your best to like protect and defend and preempt against that thing, right? So for example, like, you know, if someone pisses you off, you can well, first of all, you can be like, you know, this fucking bastard, this fucking bitch pissed me off. I'm so pissed off right now. Like I hate the fact that like they're so annoying and they pissed me off, right? And you just kind of go in that negativity loop. But also you can kind of, well, and then you can be passive about it. So you can actually let that kind of steamroll you. But also you can choose to, you can actually also like try to kind of bring them down in a way, either directly being aggressive towards them or being passive aggressive towards them, right? And when you're in like low vibrational states, let's just say, then it can seem like a healthy decision to do that, and to an extent there is value to that. I know for someone like myself who like grew up without many like firm boundaries, like sometimes you kind of get caught, like, you know, like it's kind of overly compensating, but like, you know, it's you could say it's useful towards, you know, you kind of developing boundaries and like building your courage in the face of kind of other people's what's the word, like, you know, aggression towards, you know, against your boundaries, like trying to get their way over, like, and steamrolling you. But actually there is a better way, right? There is another way, there is a third way, you could say, of like dealing with that, right? Which is to think beyond, right? Which is to take yourself out of your pain, or to use your pain to propel yourself to a higher space, right? And this also kind of overlaps with something I recently talked about in, I think it was like one of the last two entries, where I talked about, what was it? Yeah, how you have essentially your kind of higher perspective, your big picture perspective, which tells you what is right to do, right? And then there you have a more down to earth perspective, your human perspective, which is in line with how you feel, right? But essentially, sometimes, you know, it's good to kind of go with the way you feel, right, and to admit to yourself that you're hurt, right? But then sometimes, if you're sometimes, like, you know, as I described, you know, when you're pushed to such an extent that you get cornered a bit, like, and something kind of miraculous happens within you, and you start to see the like, you know, what needs to be done. The kind of bigger picture, and like this is kind of, generally speaking, like the kind of even bigger picture. So like, you know, whereas you could say, you know, if someone pisses you off, that, you know, okay, the higher perspective is that they have their own problems and they have their own stresses, and like they're just trying to quote cope themselves. They don't mean it personally. You could argue that that is like the higher perspective, but like what I'm talking about here is an even higher perspective, which is that the paradigm is fucked up, right? And they have their own pain, but that's not enough for me, right? I can see that there is a potential where no one has to be like fucking hurt, right? And that is in my vision, right? So do you see that? Yes, you know, you can be hurt, and then, you know, you can be hurt and you can express that and you can honor that. Or you can be like, okay, well, that person has their own shit, and I can see that from their perspective that, you know, we're all just human and all of that stuff, right? But both of those, you know, even though in that entry I argued that one was the down-to-earth perspective and one's the big picture perspective, they're actually both still part of that one level, you know. What I'm talking about here is like the higher level, which is, okay, fuck this, because employment is bullshit, right? You know, where I want to get to is a point where like employment doesn't exist, right? And the people around me aren't employees. They're people who build their own thing in life, and they're happy because, like, you know, they're not stuck in this place of employment, like, you know, trying to you know, run, like, basically trying to like operate in that fucked up environment. Rather, like, they have transcended that environment and now they're doing something that is beyond that, right? So this is what I'm talking about, and essentially it is up to us. Like, it is a masculine thing, you know. Like this is masculinity. It is like the willingness to be a warrior towards your cause, but simultaneously being kind of like energized by it, right? The key here is like it is a cause that you truly believe in, that truly empowers you, because like there are many men, for example. There are women also who do this, but there are many men who act and appear as though they have that they are kind of you know, they have drive and they're moving towards something that they want in life, but like in reality it is not in alignment with anything that truly empowers them, right? They're doing it out of fear, right? And what I'm talking about here is like something that is aligned with you know, your, like, it is something you actually believe in, right? So yeah, so essentially that's what I wanted to talk about in this entry. It's just that you know, it is like as men, but also, you know, women, like, also, this isn't exclusive to men, but this is like generally what, like, the kind of male side of like the life thing is that we have to have that vision, you know. We have to have that bigger vision that transcends all of like the existing systems of the world, employment, law, currency, you know, all of these ideas. If they work, keep them, but if they don't, then, you know, we have to be like kind of designing a new vision. And once we've designed that vision and like we're already building upon it, then we have to basically like keep focusing on that vision, right? No matter what and like the petty bullshit in your life, like that is what you use as fuel to focus more on the vision, right? So like I'll kind of give you a grounded example to finish this off, because I feel as though like I'm talking a lot of theory and like, you know, speaking in terms of like ideas abstractly, but like, so for example, like, you know, in my work, right, you know, there's a lot of stress, there's a lot of kind of drama and bullshit sometimes, but there are also good times, to be fair, you know, like you know, there are some things I really enjoy about work also, You know, I'm not saying it's all bad, but at the same time, when the bullshit comes my way and it hurts me, and it gives me pain and it makes me feel trapped, then instead of trying to like become some kind of a boss at work, or to like somehow like prove to the people at work that like I'm above them, or like to fight back, or to become passive, or whatever it is, right? Instead of like trying to just cope in this working environment, which, you know, like it's perfectly fine if it happens to you, because it just happens. Like, you know, honestly, like it's not easy, like, you know, being like having to work and like and trying to work on your vision at the same time. It's not easy, you know. That's why so few people do it. But even just having to work is not easy, right? Like having to be in a job and like having to like do that like on a consistent basis is not easy, right? People still do it, but that's because they have no other choice, right? You know, it's survival. But instead of like, you know, just barely coping in that environment, start feeding into your vision. You know, you want to be a writer to inspire people with your ideas. You want to be a musician to inspire people with like intense feeling and also a good message. You want to like, you know, do many things and learn many things that will make you into a much better person with a much larger kind of like scope of influence, you know, in a position to help many people, right? Like have that as your compass, right? And whatever bullshit happens in your life, instead of just merely coping, feed that negativity into your vision, right? Think every time that someone pisses you off, every time like there's drama, every time there's something that threatens your ideas and your virtue and your, you know, and gets to know, like, you know, and just pisses you off, you know. It's like this fucking thing, you know. This is nothing near what I want to stand for in life. Use that and redirect it into your vision. Realize that, you know, this is fuel that will make me work harder towards my vision, that will make me write more words, that will make me make more songs, that will make me get more ideas out there into the world, right? So yeah, that's ultimately what I wanted to say, but like, I guess I should have, like, you know, but you know, I'm just riffing here, you know, as always in my vlog entries. So anyway, this is probably, like, this is really long entry, but yeah, I hope that was helpful, you know. Like, this is something that I'm recently getting back into. All I want to say is, you know, if life is shit right now for you, you know, you're in like a life situation that's like tough, and you're alone and no one's there to support you, and it can get tough sometimes, and like you break down, not necessarily emotionally, but like it's like, you know, sometimes you're just like, you know, what's the point, like, and you just hate yourself so fucking much. You're like, why can't I be stronger, you know, or whatever it is. Why can't I be different? You know, I just want to say to you, well, what's your vision? You know, do you want to be, you have that vision, whatever it is, even if you haven't discovered it, you know, keep that vision burning, you know, keep that vision alive, and keep fighting towards that, right? Let that be your energy, you know, because yeah, you know, there is stress. Sometimes you have to consult your feelings, like I said, and, you know, just do what your body tells you. You know, don't push yourself too hard. You know, sometimes you, like, you know, you have to make sure it's sustainable, otherwise you will burn out. But at the same time, sometimes it, like, that vision, even though it's far off into the distance, and you know that there's so much shit that you have to jump over in order to get there, it motivates you. It actually feeds, like, viscerally, it feeds energy, not just like ideologically, but it actually makes you feel like you have energy. You know, it's like, I need to do this, and your willpower just shoots up, and you're like, I need to do this, like, I need to do this tomorrow, I need to do this right now, I'm gonna do it, right? Because I remember my vision, right? And like, you know, I invite you to do that. I implore you to do that, right? So cool. That was my entry. Hope it was helpful as always, and I will catch you in the next entry. It's been a long day. Peace out and stay strong.